What's up, YouTube? Scott here with the 9 to 5 Gamer. Just got home from the office, spent a little bit of time with the family, and now I'm going to take a little bit of me time. And today I'm actually going to be playing World of Warcraft Classic, but on my handheld. This is the Ayn Loki Mini Pro. Now, certainly with a smaller screen and the UI and World of Warcraft not being really meant for a handheld console, it does take some tweaking and some setup to really get it to make it easier. And I wouldn't even necessarily recommend this if you're a hardcore raider or really into being the best that you can at this game. When I'm trying to do something more competitive, I'm definitely at my computer, but it's nice that I can quest and kind of grind for XP and play something like this on the couch with my wife, instead of being kind of locked down here in my basement. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna launch World of Warcraft Classic and just kind of walk you through kind of some of the bindings and stuff that I have set up. One of the things that I really like about the Ayn Loki is it can switch between a controller setup or kind of emulating a mouse. So like right now my joystick is actually my mouse, which is nice. And then I can click A as a left click essentially. So I'm going to go ahead and open up Battle.net and we'll get signed in. And once I get into the game, I'll kind of show you guys some of my key binding stuff and just kind of walk you through how I use it and let you guys watch a little bit of questing. There's Battle.net and their advertisements about what's new. Don't care. So I'm going to go ahead and launch Classic. Now, this is a lower end Windows handheld, I would say. It's the Ayn Loki Mini Pro Max, which I think they've already stopped selling. You could definitely, I've seen people doing this on a Steam Deck as well, but I don't know the intricacies of getting it to run on a Steam Deck. So I'm going to go ahead and launch. I'm currently playing, if you follow along World of Warcraft Classic at all, they recently just kind of started what they're calling fresh servers, which is almost like rolling the clock all the way back to when World of Warcraft first came out, which is pretty cool. So we're really kind of reliving and playing the game over again, and nobody has any real big advantages at this point. It's a clean slate. The economy has kind of started over. I'm a pretty late adopter. I've started playing World of Warcraft in the last 18 months or so, specifically just Classic. So this is all new to me, and I'm experiencing all this for the first time, which is pretty cool. So I'm still kind of in the mouse emulation mode. I'm going to hold these two top buttons up here, and the AYN will vibrate, kind of telling me that it's in controller mode now. And now the game should recognize that I have a controller plugged in. Yep. And you can see I've already got kind of my navigation mapped, and in World of Warcraft should pick up that automatically. It's the action bar things down at the bottom that you'll need to bind. So for example, if I click my left joystick, it picks my nearest target. If I click my arrow forward, it goes ahead and sends my demon, in this case my Void Walker, to start attacking. And then I've got essentially my dots, my damage over time skills attached to different key combinations. So if I hold the left trigger and hit A, it does my Drain Soul, got my Corruption, got my Immolate, and then I can eventually just start wanding it down by hitting Y. So essentially what I've done is I've mapped these different keys down to the action bar. And I've gotten pretty good at making it work comfortably. I mean, I can go ahead and fear this guy away here. See if we can sneak a fear in. We did. If I want to loot the body, I just right-click to loot. So I've gotten down a pretty good pace. Occasionally, you might need to touch the screen to kind of open up your inventory, and that's where it can kind of get a little funky in terms of it being less comfortable and being on a small screen. Again, I think this is great for questing and kind of for casual level and experiencing, right? Like I'll go ahead and send my Void Walker on that guy. I'll dot it up once or twice. Go ahead and take this target, dot it up, and then I'll go ahead and fear this one. And now I'll go back to focusing on this. So I'm playing a Warlock, for those of you that don't know. There's, I guess, 6 classes in World of Warcraft Classic, I believe. Definitely, I think the simpler rotations are going to be easier on a handheld like this. I played Rogue on Seasons of Discovery, if you guys know what that is, also on this handheld, and it was pretty easy. If you were going to be maybe healing and you're really concerned about what you were targeting, maybe this isn't ideal. Go ahead and fear this one away. We'll keep targeting this one. Just like on a computer, this game gets better with add-ons. So there actually are controller-specific add-ons. I didn't end up using any of them. I just have a few add-ons like Questy and my damage meter down here. And I did install all those through CurseForge, which most of you probably know what that is. Just a free tool to kind of manage all of your add-ons to make it easier so you're not updating them every time. I've got my start button up here kind of bound to the map. Oh, forgot about this guy. One of the things that's cool about the interface of the Ayn Loki is the bottom right-hand corner brings up this control center, and you can control essentially the power, the performance, right? So I've got this right now at 15 watts TDP to be able to play a kind of a 3D game like this. You could drag this thing all the way down to just 5, 6, 7 watts for like a 2D isometric game that is a little bit less demanding. So it's pretty cool that you can kind of control that on the fly. I've also got mine running at 1080p. You can downscale this to 720 if you want to try to play something that's a little bit more demanding. But I would say this is about as aggressive as I would get on a 3D game on here. Like I said, I've played Fable on here, you know, Bully, like I said, it's enjoyable. I still think handhelds are better for 2D and isometric and top-down and side-scroller type games. But something like this is still, I enjoy doing it. I can be on the couch, I can spend time with my wife while getting XP. I even run Discord on here. This thing has a USB-C port on it. I'll plug my headset in and I can chat with my buddies on Discord while we play. The downside's definitely, if you don't have a keybind for something, touching the screen with this small of an interface could be a bit of a challenge. I'd pretty much forget about the chat. I mean, this certainly does have an on-screen keyboard. I think it's the left click. No, I think it's the bottom left click, maybe. I think I might even have it turned off. It's so bad. Nope, that opened the Xbox controller there. Don't want that. It's really hard to type on here. It's pretty much out. These things do have Bluetooth and a USB-C port, so you could pair a keyboard to it, but if you're going to go through all that, why don't you just go back to your computer, right? This is really just meant for kind of casual questing. At least that's what I use it for. So after I kill this, I'll kind of walk you through my keybinds so you can see how I did it. It's definitely a bit clunky at first, but like I said, once you figured it out, you can get a pretty good rhythm. I do some of these dungeons and I'll be top DPS and people are like, oh wow, you did, you know, nice work. And I'm like, well, would you believe me if I told you I was using a controller? Look at that, just leveled up to 43. What a grind. So I'll kind of dive into the options menu so you can see a little bit here. So under options, you can go down to essentially key bindings. And this is where I've bound the keys. And the focus is really the action bar. So essentially actions bars 1 through 12 line up to the bars here at the bottom. And I'm essentially just clicking on them one at a time and binding them to the different skills and attacks that I have on there. What I did to make it real easy was I actually used a controller on my computer first to set up my key bindings, because Battle.net brings your settings over to other devices. So when I pivot from my mobile device to my PC, all of my key bindings follow over, which is pretty nice. So you're essentially just going in there and binding things one at a time. If you start a brand new class in World of Warcraft Classic, it'll make it easy because you've only got a couple attacks there at the beginning. Like I said, I use the left joystick to select my nearest target, so you can see I've selected that. Arrow up to send my demon or my pet. And then I've got my left trigger and buttons on the right to make different combinations. So in theory, you could have 16 different combinations between these 4 keys and these 4 triggers. So I got Immolate there. Got my Shadow Bolt. I'm just on B there. Wand him down a bit with Y. And then I can Drain Soul at the end there. Right to loot. Pretty easy. Once you get the hang of it, I can do 2, 3, 4 mobs at once with this, all with a controller. So wanted to keep this one pretty short, but just kind of wanted to show you guys the performance and maybe get your mind thinking about other games you might want to play on your handheld. Like I said, this is one of the things that's appealing to me about kind of more simple gaming and on devices like this is the tinkering aspect. It's what can I get to run on this? Like prior to me doing this, I don't think I saw any videos or any content about somebody playing World of Warcraft Classic on an Ayn Loki. I definitely saw some people doing it with Steam Decks. but I figured I would give it a shot, and like I said, it's been enjoyable for questing. It certainly isn't a replacement for raid night or anything like that. I would want to be able to type in the chat and click on things pretty quickly, but it's a good way to do some of the kind of grinding and monotonous stuff. Maybe some of the things like fishing and leather working, maybe you kind of grind on those items using the handheld. So, and I get about 2 hours of battery life depending on what I have the settings at in terms of performance. You know, you can change the screen brightness, turn off the LEDs, control the fan a little bit to get more battery life out of it. So, well, thank you guys for joining. I want to bring you more and more kind of in-depth content about my handhelds and just hopefully kind of share some of the casual gaming experiences with you guys. Like I mentioned, you know, I don't have the time like I used to dive in 3-4 hours a day playing some of these brand new AAA titles. It's not what this channel is going to be about. These are things that you can maybe pick up and play for an hour or two a day. I would say World of Warcraft is probably the most in-depth, granular video game that I've played in the last 2-3 years. Besides this, I'm playing much more basic games. Spent a lot of time playing the Game Boy Advance, the Nintendo DS. I had a PSP for a while, and I found that didn't age quite as well as some of the other handhelds. So I've been spending a lot of time playing retro games, and even some of the more new games that are meant to feel retro, right? Like Stardew Valley, Sea of Stars. So I plan to bring you guys content around that, and thank you for the support.